Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network, folks. Today we got a great show for you. Let's talk about the confirmation of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. We'll talk about the implications, the impact we have. We're going to be joined by Professor Najari Mathis Rutledge, who is a law professor and a columnist, to give us some insight as to what we can expect over the next few months as we prepare to have Judge Jackson sitting on the seat at the Supreme Court. We'll have that conversation. Also, let's talk about the idea of party loyalty. Mitch McConnell said some wild things, and all in the respect of wanting to support the party. But when is there a line drawn between party loyalty and country interest? We have that conversation. And folks, it came out just a few moments ago that Will Smith has officially been banned for 10 years from Academy events and Academy activities. What does this mean? We'll have a conversation about that. And I got a very special guest. Speaking of the Oscars, we're going to be talking to the conductor of the 94th Oscar, Mr. Dante Winslow. We're going to have that special conversation. So we got a lot to get to. Stay with us. It's all about to happen on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome. We got a lot to get to, so let's jump right into it. I'm excited because today we know that folks are still celebrating the confirmation of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson being confirmed for the Supreme Court of the United States. And today there was a special ceremony that was held at the White House, hosted by President Biden himself, for the new Supreme Court justice, and we want to play a little bit of what was said and some of give you an experience of what was done at that celebration. But we also are joined by Professor Najari Mathis Rutledge, who is a law professor and she's a columnist for USA Today. She's going to give us her insight about what we are seeing and what we can expect over the next few months. And then we'll also be joined by Culture Crew member, activist, and educator Shaquare McKenzie. So I want to play for you very quickly. Let me do this. Let's bring in our very special guest, Professor Najari Mathis Rutledge, to thank her. And I know she's like super, super excited that her sister has just been confirmed. Professor, it's always a pleasure to talk to you once again. Welcome back to the show. How are you feeling right now, Professor? Because I'm sure that you probably haven't had sleep over the past 24 hours.
Full. I am so full of emotion, even though we knew we had the votes and even though we knew we were going to have some bipartisanship support. When I heard the vice president say the count and said that this nomination is confirmed, tears just flew. I was just so overwhelmed. And I found myself having just crying bursts. I'm so filled with pride and joy. And I cannot believe someone I went to law school with is the next Supreme Court justice. That is just mind-boggling to me. So I'm just happy. I'm happy for little Black girls everywhere. I'm happy for the community. I'm happy for our nation. This is just a wonderful historic moment.
This is a big, big moment on so many levels, Professor. And I know a lot of people are talking about everything from breaking the glass ceiling. I saw a meme or somebody posted a message on Instagram and says, I feel so sorry for the glass ceiling today. So I saw, I see that. I see a lot of, thought pieces about, Black women judges. I went on Twitter as well, and they talked about another Black judge that was appointed to a federal court back in 2003, I believe it was. I think it was Judge Janice Rogers, if I'm not mistaken. And people thought she was going to be not that she was nominated for the Supreme Court, but there was a lot of like misinformation about that. But people are just now showing some great interest in Black women judges. And I know that by you being a law professor, that's good for the profession. But I'm wondering, how do we make sure that that conversation stays in a place where people have realistic expectations, that we temper the expectations to the point where we're not expecting to see Justice Jackson come in there and just completely like upend the whole, judicial system. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So the truth is, we have a conservative supermajority that's not going anywhere. And Judge Jackson, who will soon be Justice Jackson, will be replacing Justice Stephen Breyer for the next Supreme Court term. And so since we're exchanging someone who is more progressive with someone who we expect to be equally progressive. And so that balance of the court is just not going to change. We expect that she's going to write some brilliant dissenting opinions. We expect that having her in the room as a Black female has value. And we expect her to do the consensus building that she's always done. But to expect everything to change is not realistic. What we really need to think about is the pipeline, right? Making sure that this moment encourages more people of color to think about law school. Making sure it encourages people in law school to think about judicial clerkships, and making sure it encourages young attorneys to think about the road to getting on the bench. Because one of the reasons this didn't go well when President Obama was president, and he tried, and we really wanted a Black woman on the Supreme Court then, there were very few of us in the pipeline. Because traditionally, you have to be an appellate court judge. So that'd be a federal circuit court judge. And we have just a few federal district court judges. Thanks to elections, because elections matter, I hope people realize that, Joe Biden has put more Black women in the court than I think we have ever had, including with President Obama. I think we have 8 to 10 new federal circuit court judges thanks to Joe Biden pushing those judges through. So now we already have some people in the pipeline who were never there before. And that is momentous. I think the whole discussion about diversity in the bench is really important, because now hopefully the world knows that the bench of talent is deep. It doesn't just start or end with Judge Jackson. She should not have been the first. She should have been the second or third. We've always had a wide range of talent with Black judges. They just needed the opportunity, and we need to encourage our youth behind us to think about the Supreme Court and the circuit court and the district court from now
on. Professor, I saw that there was also not really pushback. I think a lot of people are happy about this historic moment, but I know that there are some people who are saying, okay, why are we getting excited about this? And I know that, like, for example, the paper that you write for USA Today, they put out a piece to talk about that level of diversity. I mean, even though you may not agree with the politics of the 2 Black people that are going to be on the bench, but you have Clarence Thomas and Justice Jackson that will be joining them. Then you also have, let's take into consideration, you got 4 women that will also be represented in the Supreme Court. But some people still are looking at this moment and are saying, okay, looking at, how is this going to, impact my life? Can you speak about, when we look at these big appointments and this type of role, how does this trickle down to the citizens on a local or state level?
Well, I think that the problem is apathy, because we're living in times where people are, just like you indicated, very self-centered. And so it's really just like everyone who cares and realizes the value needed to contact their senators. Everyone now needs to make sure we fight against misinformation and we talk about why this matters. Now, there are some people in the population that will never care why it matters, right? They didn't want her in the first place. They don't care. They're just going about their lives.
Right.
But for those of us who understand the significance, and the significance is profound because representation matters. The significance is profound, just like it was when we had Judge Constance Baker Motley. The thousands and thousands of Black women that you talk to today that say, I became a lawyer because of her, matters. The fact that now Justice Jackson can say, oh, I look back to Constance Baker Motley, that is huge. So just think about all the people who are going to look to her today, whether they're young Black girls or young working mothers or what have you. This is also American story of success. Someone who has been told, you know what, don't set your sights too high. Regardless of your race, we've all had that moment. We have all had the naysayer moment where someone told us that what we wanted to achieve was above us. And she did it anyway. She didn't listen to them. And she achieved the dream by working really, really hard and making some really good decisions in her life. That should be celebrated by all of us. And the fact that it's not is really sad and a really telling story about where we are in the country today.
I would have to agree. I feel like, we are unfortunately in this cultural space where even though Black people are still making historic first in some areas, such as this one, that it still doesn't really get people as excited that, as you would expect it. Right. And I found it to be interesting. And I'm saying not just men or Black people, I'm saying women, like, okay, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, so what excites you? like what really gets your fire going, considering like we're living in a country where all this other stuff is happening, and we're not excited about the small victories. And I think that, like you said, it's very telling. And I think that that's part of the reason why we haven't made the type of gains, not because we can't, but because of the attitude around it. And that we don't celebrate the victories when they do happen. Right. And I've learned that in organizing that you have to take time to celebrate your small wins or the big wins, or take the time to celebrate any level of victory, because you're like, okay, let's take take this moment to pause and reflect. Let's regroup ourselves and get ready for the next battle. And I think that this is one of those moments, like, okay, we can celebrate, but we're regrouping ourselves and getting ourselves ready for the next battle. I want to play, Professor, just some of the words from Justice Judge Jackson, and she spoke at the White House today for the special ceremony. Check this out, folks.
In 232 years and 115 prior appointments, for a Black woman to be selected to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States. But we've made it. We've made it, all of us, all of us. And our children are telling me that they see now more than ever that here in America, anything is possible. They also tell me that I'm a role model, which I take both as an opportunity and as a huge responsibility. I am feeling up to the task primarily because I know that I am not alone. I am standing on the shoulders of my own role models, generations of Americans who never had anything close to this kind of opportunity, but who got up every day and went to work believing in the promise of America, showing others through their determination and, yes, their perseverance, that good things can be done in this great country. From my grandparents on both sides, who had only a grade school education but instilled in my parents the importance of learning, to my parents, who went to racially segregated schools growing up and were the first in their families to have the chance to go to college. I am also ever buoyed by the leadership of generations past who helped to light the way: Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Justice Thurgood Marshall, and my personal heroine, Judge Constance Baker Motley. They and so many others did the heavy lifting that made this day possible. And for all of the talk of this historic nomination and now confirmation, I think of them as the true path breakers. I am just the very lucky first inheritor of the dream of liberty and justice for all. To be sure, I have worked hard to get to this point in my career, and I have now achieved something far beyond anything my grandparents could have possibly ever imagined. But no one does this on their own. The path was cleared for me so that I might rise to this occasion. And in the poetic words of Dr. Maya Angelou, I do so now while bringing the gifts my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. So as I take on this new role, I strongly believe that this is a moment in which all Americans can take great pride. We have come a long way toward perfecting our union. In my family, it took just one generation to go from segregation to the Supreme Court of the United States. And it is an honor, the honor of a lifetime, for me to have this chance to join the court, to promote the rule of law at the highest level, and to do my part to carry our shared project of democracy and equal justice under law forward into the future. Thank you again, Mr. President and members of the Senate, for this incredible honor.
Wow. Wow. Professor, a couple of things that stuck out for me, and I want to bring in Culture Crew member Shaquaya McKenzie on this part of the conversation. Shaquaya, of course, is an activist. She's an educator, and she is a dynamic role model in her own right for women across this country. But ladies, there are a couple of things that stuck out for me. One is she did not shy away from the role model title. And you know, sometimes I think, Professor, that, you know, when people get into this, they're like, oh, I'm just trying to do my thing. Not really. I mean, I get it. It's part of being humble, but at the same time, you know, not fully embracing that other people are looking at you, that you know that you are not just a person, but you represent something greater. Then the second thing that really stuck out for me is the acknowledgement by her being a Black woman, which I think has always been like a source of a huge part of this conversation about her. You know, saying, look, my ancestors, segregation, I stand on the shoulders and I walk in the same, you know, the path. And I mean, just embracing that part of herself, that her black part, that her blackness, not running away from that. And how do you think that that is going to play out? Because there have been many conversations about both, her being a role model. What does that mean? What does she represent? And then by her blackness, because she's married to a white man, and she has a biracial child. These things don't matter to me, but I know that that's part of the conversation, and it's unfortunate that matters to some other folks.
That's a really big question. So let me try to take it in parts. Having the privilege of going to law school with Judge Jackson, I did have the privilege of seeing Patrick, and I can say he loves her dearly. He has been a great spouse and support. So anyone who is stuck on, oh, she's got an interracial marriage, needs to just get over it. That's not going to impact how she is as a judge at all. One of the things I've always valued and respected about Judge Jackson when we were in law school is that she always knew who she was. When I was last on this show, I gave you guys an analogy to a different world character, Kimberly Reese. And I told you, some people say I'm Whitley, she would be Kimberly Reese. And I really meant that. Kimberly Reese, when we think about the character, knew who she was. So does Ketanji Brown Jackson. She knows she's a Black woman. She knows the power in being a Black woman. She knows all the burdens and all that comes with it. And she has never run from that. And that's one of the reasons everyone should be really excited about this wonderful, wonderful moment. So when she goes into those rooms, she's taking all of herself with her, all of those life and lived experiences as a Black woman, as a public defender, as having members in law enforcement, as having a relative in prison. All of that is going into the room with her. And as she goes into the room, when she said, we're all in there, she didn't just break a glass for herself. That's another thing that I really love about Judge Jackson. Mm-hmm. Most people who we respect in the Black community are very community oriented. That's kind of who we are. And so when she says we made it, she really meant that. In a sense, we all did, because we are finally all there represented. Now, does there need to be other representation on the Supreme Court? Absolutely. But part of the beauty of this is they see that Black people don't think in a monolithic way, because we have Clarence Thomas on one side who's going to probably think very differently than a Justice Jackson. And that's a good thing. Maybe not a good thing, everything that Clarence Thomas says, but a good thing that they know that, we're not just cookie cutter. We're actually living, thinking beings with opinions, and we know how to read the law and interpret it and all of that. And so that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the way you said that. Shaquaya, what's your take on that?
I also, like you, am kind of reeling and really allowing the cataclysmic concept of a Black woman on the Supreme bench to just marinate, because I had a moment yesterday as I was watching Senator Chuck Schumer, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, in his introduction to the vote, really poignantly expressing how much of a moment this is, that we're nominating a Black woman to the bench. And a part of me had a little bit of resistance, like, well, yeah, she's Black, but she's also so much more. Why do we keep talking about the fact that she's Black, right? But I understand why. I know why. I think a little bit of my resistance is just like, it's damn time. That's my attitude. But it's also I'm allowing myself to marinate in it. And I really appreciate her reference to being the hope and the dream of a slave, because for my students who I taught, and I'm out of the classroom now, but oftentimes what I wanted to really bring to fore for students and allow them to grapple with is that we are only 3 or 4 generations away from slavery. I think oftentimes it's so easy for us to dismiss being present in time, what that means for the work we are doing, what that means for the history we are seeing, and really embedding into not just children of color, but all children, all American children, in the responsibility they inherit to celebrate these moments, to understand where we are in the context of time, and not feel as if that our history was so long ago. It's imminent, right? as she said, her grandparents were in grade school or just had a grade school education, and her parents grew up in segregation. And so I am trying to find the balance of celebrating this moment as I'm always looking forward to, okay, now what next? What else do we need to do? Who else do we need to put in position? And I appreciate your word, Professor, about allowing this to be a catalyst for us to think about. And Faraji, I think I mentioned to you, but I'm gearing up to prepare for law school myself now. I'll be a non-traditional student.
Oh, yes. You did mention that to me. Yep.
So this means the world to me in the most immediate sense of what it is I look to do. I recently had a conversation with a Black judge from New Jersey who said, you should think about this. And I never had before, right? And so I'm so grateful that this gives us an opportunity to think about pipeline, to think about the intentionality of the work that we can do in education, elementary through higher, right? Of how we essentially condition the minds of our children to know that they belong in these spaces. Faraji, the last thing I want to say too is that what's special about Judge Jackson is that she is such an exemplar of you can't throw stones. You know, she's such an exemplar of a judge and of a professional and everything she's done up until this point. But sometimes I think it's important for us to be mindful and say, you even still, you don't have to be perfect to want to aspire to where she is, right? She's a model. She's amazing. She has an unblemished record. And there are also people who may have some blemishes on their record that still deserve a seat at the table, regardless of anything. It's not just about our race. It's not just about our arc of excellence. It's about the fact that we deserve to be in these spaces. Our opinions need to inform the work that is at every level of, the judicial system. And I'm just so excited for what this means in the immediate term, and definitely for what this means for the children that I taught.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Professor. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to jump in. I was thinking about what Michelle Obama said after we had the last president before Biden. And she talked about now we're going to see what it's like to live in a country without hope. And when we talked about apathy, that's what some of it does. I think so many of us are just beaten down by so much negativity. And now we have this wonderful shining light. When you talk about the children, I cannot wait for KBJ dolls on the show. You know what it's going to mean for our little girls to see dolls modeled out of Supreme Court justice? That is going to be so valuable.
And when you know what, Professor, when you say it like that, I mean, we know that the culture that the time that, for example, that Thurgood Marshall became a Supreme Court justice, I mean, we're like light years, we're like eons culturally from that time, right? The time that Clarence Thomas became a Supreme Court justice, eons from that time culturally. When the time that Sister Sonia Sotomayor became a Supreme Court justice, we're like eon, and even Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I mean, culturally, we're in a very different space where we're having a Black woman in a seat of power as such as this. And the implications, the ramifications, the ripple effect that it has from, I mean, yes, RBG, she had dolls, she had T-shirts, but that was in the latter years of her service, right? But we're talking about this thing kind of just blowing up. You seeing, Professor Judge Ketanji everywhere. She's going to be on Billboard.
Popular judge we've had in years, more popular than Chief Justice Roberts statistically. I think she has like a 60% approval rate. There are many people who are excited about this.
Right. And I think that's the other part about this. I mean, we are in a very, very heavy opinionated period in our culture because of social media, because of alternative platforms and new platforms like this, that everybody has an opinion. Everybody has an opinion about who should be doing what. Everybody has an opinion about how they should be doing their job. And, I always kind of laugh and I'm saying, you know what? for people in public service, it's a hard job. If you got a platform, it's a hard job. Because I would like to, for folks that aren't in public service, I like for some people to just start, talking about what their jobs is and how their job performance is and all of that. They wouldn't be able to handle that level of scrutiny. They wouldn't be able to handle it. But to see we're in a very different time, we're in a different space when it comes to women's rights, women's issues in this country, right? So this is, to have a Black woman in the seat of power, in the way that we're seeing it, the way that she was confirmed, the process that she was confirmed, the foolishness that she had to endure during the hearings is a very, very big deal. We want to take a quick pause. When we come back, Professor, I'd like to get your thoughts on what can we expect over the next couple of months as we prepare for her to take her seat in October. So we'll have that conversation. We'll continue to have our conversation with Culture Crew member Shaquaya McKenzie, and of course with you. We'll share some of your comments as we have this discussion. So stay with us, folks. Still a lot to talk about as we continue to celebrate the confirmation of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A Black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?
Folks, we are continuing to talk about the historic moment of the confirmation of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the United States Supreme Court. Today, there was a ceremony that was hosted by President Biden and Vice President Harris to congratulate Judge Jackson on the confirmation. And we've been talking with Professor Najari Mathis Rutledge, who is a law professor, and she was a classmate of Judge Jackson back in law school. She's also my columnist for USA Today, giving her insight and analysis of what we are seeing and expecting in this great historical moment. We're also joined by Culture Crew member Shaquaya McKenzie, who is an aspiring law professional herself. She is an activist and she is an educator. I want, Professor, as we look at what's going on with this situation, because this was a pretty fast confirmation hearing. Compared to what I've read of other Supreme Court justices. So this is March right now. No, April. I'm sorry. This is April right now. But talk to us about this timeline, because even though she has been confirmed yesterday, there's still some time before she actually takes the seat in the Supreme Court.
Absolutely. So yesterday, the full Senate voted that she should be confirmed. Today, President Joe Biden had her sign a constitutional oath of some type. Sadly, I wasn't there. I have a lot of friends and classmates that were there in person. I didn't see that. But we expect sometime in July, maybe the end of June, for her to actually take the official oath of office.
Okay.
We need to wait till Justice Breyer actually retires. He's announced his retirement, but he is still the current justice of the Supreme Court. Once that happens, she will be ready to be seated for the next term, for her to start listening to cases and any special things that come up.
And that next term starts October, I read?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So it's going to be at least 6 months, about 6 months before she actually sits on the seat. What happens during this time period? I was reading that she's trying to get her office together, hire some personnel. But are there some other things that we can expect to see?
I tell you what I'm hoping to see, and I shared this with some friends, some mutual friends who are much closer to her, and I said, I hope she takes time to rest. She was under substantial attack, and there were so many negative racist symbols sent to those QAnon folk that I just want her to be safe. I know she has a security detail. She's not allowed to drive anymore. But I just want her to take time, because those attacks and that negativity is not going to stop, because even though the politicians may have been engaged in political theater, some of their constituents are not. Some of them are going to take some of that nonsense and that rhetoric seriously. So I want her to rest up, because it's hard being the first. So for her own safety, for her own peace of mind, my goal would be for her to have self-care. Now, I expect for the next few weeks, she's going to wrap up the things that she has to do on the court. She could stay, but I think that would not be in the best interest of anyone. It's better to go ahead and start thinking about someone like perhaps Judge Childs, who is on the short list to fill that seat, even though the Republicans have already, they're in their feelings and they're saying they're not going to let any judges pass. But we're going to keep fighting for that as well. And then her to get ready for that transition. I don't believe she has the staff set up yet. I know I've had people reach out to me, personally, just saying, hey, do you think I can get her to talk to this? I'm like, that's not even set up yet. Let her breathe and rejoice in all of that right now.
It reminds me of the moment, Professor, when President Obama first got into office back in 2008. And then it was like a lot of Black people were like, hey, man, I can't wait to work for the president. And I'm like, wait a minute, what do you think? You think they could just post it on Indeed or something? like he got an opening for a staff member? Like there are protocols. I think there was a lot of, people were just so excited to have a Black face in the White House. It was just like, oh my gosh, we're going to have all of this access and everything. But for a role and position like this, what type of access do people, or will the people have to Judge Jackson?
So this is a very unique situation for a number of reasons. Unlike when Thurgood Marshall was on the Supreme Court, we have social media and we're in a different time. And because the court has become very politicized, we've seen current Supreme Court justices do a lot of speaking engagements and say a lot of things we're not used to the court saying. As the first Black woman, there are so many people who want to hear from her, to have her speak at this event and that event and that event. So she's going to have to pace herself. Traditionally, if you're already a judge, as she is a sitting appellate court judge, you take your law clerks with you, right? Because they're already working there. It's kind of the middle of the thing. And I'm sure they'll probably get the first dibs on the opportunity to go to the court. That's my assumption. After that, the regular law clerk process will happen. Those are going to be the people who actually get to work directly with her in her chambers. She's also going to need, that secretary and that personal secretary and figure out scheduling from that point. But in terms of access, I already know, for example, I teach at South Texas College of Law, Houston. I would love for her to speak. I think I can get her to speak because I've known her for a while. But her close circle, deans, other law professors, she's got people that are way up the food chain from me in terms of their relationship. She's going to go there first. And I respect that. So how is she going to make all the rounds? There were so many Black women law professors and deans that did a lot of grassroots organizing and wrote op-eds and gave speeches and interviews on her behalf. All of them want her to speak at places. I'm sure the people of Miami, we have not had someone from Miami, Florida. She's a daughter of Florida from the South, want her. So there's going to be a whole lot of different obligations that she's going to have to pick and choose. I have no idea how she's going to tackle it all.
And then with the president and vice president, how does that relationship work with her? I mean, because you're saying that this is really like, I mean, it's not unprecedented or uncharted territory because presidents appoint Supreme Court justice, but it is unprecedented, uncharted territory for a Black woman in 2022 in the cultural and political space that we're in. How do you foresee that relationship going between her and Vice President Harris and President Biden?
I believe the relationship between her and Vice President Harris is going to be very unique because they're both people who just broke that glass ceiling. And we've heard that Vice President Harris. Did you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I was thinking the same thing. Yes, ma'am.
And we heard that she had a really large role in making this happen and even picking who was going to be on the short list and ultimately Judge Jackson. Having said that, judges should always avoid the appearance of impropriety. So I do not recall any times where you saw any of the Supreme Court justices hang out with any of the presidents. So I don't expect a bunch of different photo ops or anything like that. In fact, ideally, they're going to come to the State of the Union address and they should try to remain as apolitical as possible. It's really an interesting dichotomy because in many ways, to become a judge in the first place, you have to be political. But once you become a judge, you're really supposed to shut all of that off. So she's going to have to be very careful with her boundaries. So she can certainly be friends with Vice President Harris, and there's some wonderful, amazing women, Black women in the White House counsel office that really help make this happen as well. But there has to always be that line because she is a judge and she cannot let her ties or relationships influence her at all.
Oh, big. Professor, I know you have to run, so we appreciate your time with us today. Very, very grateful that you were able to share your analysis and insight. And I'm going to call on you again, Professor.
I would love that. And I do need to clear one thing up. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and so is the vice president. Judge Jackson is unaffiliated. I know some people say she's a Delta. No, she's an AKA. Ketanji Brown Jackson studied. That's what she did in college. I was pledging. She was studying. She's still studying and focusing on her family. She is not affiliated with any organization.
Well, she might get some honorary affiliations at this point.
She better be like Michelle Obama and stay neutral because I know some of her besties are Deltas. And, I'm trying to block that. I'm like, wait.
Come on over. Oh, you don't know, Professor, I'm a Delta. So, the love is.
Hey, I'm not divine non-sisters, but I'm like, no, Nina, no,
it's gonna get real.
Professor, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. We truly appreciate you. And again, we'll tap back. We'll circle back to you because as we get closer to the next phase of this process, we want to get your thoughts on that. So thank you again.
Thank you, and good luck in law school. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Najee Mathis Rutledge, who is a law professor. She is a dynamic former prosecutor, as well as a columnist for USA Today, joining us as always here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Shaquay, I want to get your thoughts about, just everything that we've been experiencing and some of the things that Professor has been saying. I mean, this is going to be a gauntlet, for lack of a better word. This is going to be a gauntlet. Anytime you have an appointment of this magnitude, and the only thing only precedent that I can remember is President Obama. That's the only one, but maybe and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's that same level of energy that we saw with President Obama back in 2008.
Absolutely. I agree. I think the momentum, the excitement, the relevance of, historical quality in terms of being the first in a contemporary position to actually make progressive change, because it's not just about being the first, right? It's about the ideology that is paired with it and why people are so excited at large. It's not to say that if she was conservative, we should be any less excited. But I think because of what she represents, because her career has spanned where no other Supreme Court justice has, in terms of being a public defender, a person of the people, there is this really exciting energy around her role and how she will assimilate into it. What I hope won't be the case, but I anticipate is possible, just as it was with President Barack Obama, is that there is this cacophonous excitement and then anticipation about all of the change we'll see, or all of the impact that will be had when tempered with reality and looking at the entire system, if you will, in terms of this is, we're not talking about the executive office with President Barack Obama, and of course the legislative office as it relates to his impact or influence over legislation, but we're talking about the judicial branch, right, which is a very fixed environment, indifferent to the type of changes that can be made versus legislation in the legislative branch. I just hope that people do not become apathetic, in using a term the professor utilized a few moments ago. I hope that people do not become apathetic, because they are not going to see, as it was already stated, she's a liberal taking a liberal seat, and there is a supermajority of conservatives at the Supreme Court level. Therefore, her emblazing influence will be her dissenting opinions, most likely, right? The way that the book will open for those in the future. But I just hope that people don't expect too much or expect unreasonably what she will be able to do, but understand that her role, her influence, her voice, and her position is still important where it is, and how it is. And so I know that, as you said, it'll be a gauntlet, but I do hope that, because we have the example of what happened with President Barack Obama, a lot of people of color, or a lot of individuals who identify as progressive, liberal Democrats, they became, a little frustrated and disappointed in the lack of change they thought they would see. But as we know, change comes slow, right? But it matters that we're breaking at the bit each step of the way.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I'll just to share just a couple of a few comments from our watchers. Janelle said, folks complaining about symbolism seem to forget that progress requires taking steps. Folks spitting out talking points against KBJ clearly haven't even read her points behind her decisions. Mm-hmm. So to Janelle's point, yes, progress it's a slow grind. It's a step-by-step situation. And so many people, Shaquaya, have been, trying to downplay this or trying to diminish this, or they try to act as if that this is not a big deal. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we have to see that this is a huge deal. This is a huge deal. Yesterday we had a conversation about representation politics versus emancipatory politics. And we're in a space right now that you do, and Rashad said this, Shaquaya. So he said, you need both. You really need both. You do need to have representation politics. You need to have that representation seat at the table. You know, we need to be in the room type of thing. But then you also have that emancipatory politics that is going to, you know, be more grassroots and be more on the boots on the ground type of thing. So, you know, what we're seeing here is a little bit of both, because both was necessary to bring this sister to this place. And you know, this is a lifetime appointment. This is a lifetime appointment. May God, you know, bless this sister to live many, many years, because that's the type of change that this country needs. And you know what? Only time will tell. And the big thing that my big concern is like something that you just said, Shaquaya, to add to your point, that we don't make this a Hollywood situation. Because being a judge in general is probably one of the most humbling roles that a person can take, right? Because you're literally have people's lives in your hands, like you're God, but you're not. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's a humbling situation.
It is.
But then to add to that, just real quick, just to add to that, it's like now you're on the Supreme Court and you're dictating legal policy that is going to set a precedent for a whole country of people. So it's not just a couple of lives, you got millions of lives. So, you know, there has to be and what I see in Judge Jackson is a level of reverence for that responsibility.
Indeed. I think that's why she is so entrusted and so celebrated and was heralded as overqualified as she is, because the temperament and her steady conviction to abide to the law and interpret the law justly is what makes her stand out, is what has, you know, been deemed the force of or the characteristic as to why she is overqualified, if you will. I think we also should keep in mind, to your point, that she will be ruling over milestone cases, such as the possibility of overturning Roe v. Wade, right? That case that's coming out of Texas. She'll be she'll have an opinion on the matters relative to voting rights. I know that some things have passed through recently, but there are still things in the pipeline that are going to affect that, you know, gerrymandering and just the overall ability of states to enforce or not enforce laws that equally protect the right to vote. And so she is coming in at a very timely point in where we are as it relates to monumental cases that will be going to the Supreme Court. But again, I do agree with you that we have to reasonably measure her locus of control and influence. We have to reasonably expect that she will impart a progressive opinion about matters, but we also should respect where she is more moderate and where she, you know, where she really is abiding to the law as it is written, as it is enforced. And I want the younger generation to truly pay attention. I think that adults, being that, you know, it is our responsibility to stay informed about what's happening in our country day by day, because it impacts how we are living, the quality of our lives. I really hope that there is the younger generation continues to galvanize and pay attention and want to stay tuned, and even in promoting her via social media, maintaining, if not just the same, even more relevance as RBG as a cultural phenomenon and icon. So that the decisions that she plays a role in, and or her role in general, does not subside over time, but that it maintains the momentum that is so rightly deserved.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Folks, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's switch gears because we want to break it down and talk to you about the latest development out of Los Angeles, where the Academy Awards or the Academy for Motion Picture Science and the Arts have made a decision to ban Will Smith for 10 years from Academy activities and events. We just want to get your thoughts about, do you think that this was an appropriate punishment for what Will Smith did on Oscar night a few weeks ago? We'll have that conversation. And let's talk a little bit about Black excellence. Can we talk about Black excellence? Does Black excellence help or hurt us? Y'all know how I feel about certain conversations, certain questions, certain elements of our culture where we need to just take a step back to just say, does Black excellence, does this really help or hurt us? We'll get into that discussion as well. So stay with us. All of that is coming up in the next hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
And folks, it seems like the slap that was heard around the world is still being felt. It was just announced today by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences that Will Smith has been officially banned from attending all Academy events, most notably the Academy Awards, for the next 10 years as a penalty for slapping Chris Rock at the 94th Oscars. Now, according to the Academy president, David Rubin, and CEO, Don Hudson, they wrote in an open letter saying, addressed to their Academy family, that the celebratory intentions of the March 27th ceremony were overshadowed by the unacceptable and harmful behavior we saw Mr. Smith exhibit on stage. They also apologized, stating that they did not adequately address the situation in the room, and they thanked Chris Rock for maintaining his composure on stage. They said, quote, "This action we are taking today in response to Will Smith's behavior is a step toward a larger goal of protecting the safety of our performers and guests and restoring trust in the Academy. We also hope this can begin a time of healing and restoration for all involved and impacted." Now, Will Smith said in a statement that he had released today that he said, quote, "I accept and respect the Academy's decision." Let's bring in Culture Crew member Shaquaya McKenzie to talk about this. Shaquaya?
Yeah.
Do you think this was appropriate?
I think it was expected. I
expected penalty. I expected punishment. Let me just give people a context. There have only been 4 people, and I'm gonna share with you those names in a moment. But there were only 3 other people that have resigned. Will Smith was the 3rd, and 5 have been expelled: Bill Cosby, Roman Polanski, Harvey Weinstein, Carmine Cardi, and Adam Kimmel. So he is on a very, very, very short list of people that are on the wrong side of the academy. But 10 years, banned for 10 years. Do you think that was appropriate? I agree. I knew they had to do something. And once they said that they should have done more, and I think this came out a couple of days after the Oscars and everything, right? They should have done more. I knew that they were going to slam the hammer down. They were going to just throw the book at Will Smith for this.
As is to be expected. It's like when a child acts out in the store and you don't want to, tear him up right there in front of people. You bring him home and think about the longer consequence to give him, right? So I expected it. 10 years. Now, because this is a situation upon which I assume they are using as a precedent to communicate clearly to any other participants of Academy events, namely the Academy Awards ceremony, that this behavior is intolerable, I think it can be deemed reasonable. Perhaps people will argue the stint of time. Should it be 5 years? Should it be 7? Should it be 10? If you're looking at this as the, incarceration bid, 10 years sounds like a long time. For us.
Because Will Smith is 52.
And let's also be clear, Will Smith has nearly an unblemished record. He's never done anything publicly that has caused gross debate about what he's done, about whether what he's done is morally right or morally wrong. Not to my immediate recall, and I've had this conversation with a number of people, right? Like, this is Will Smith we're talking about, right?
I mean, he's probably
Hollywood's black
nephew. Let me just say this. Let me say this. And I know some people y'all might really disagree with me. The only black man, not going to say the only, no, that's not true. Will Smith would have been, if he didn't do this, he would have been a part of a very distinguished class of black actors and performers that have had an unblemished, very well calculated Hollywood career. Let me tell you who would have been involved, who would have been in that same class to me. And y'all can correct me. Denzel Washington, Samuel Jackson.
Now Danny Glover as well.
Huh?
Danny Glover, because he just got his award along the same night as Samuel Jackson. That's why
Danny Glover. I can't think of Morgan Freeman, because I know that Morgan Freeman had a couple of scandals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But in contemporary times, historically, I would add to that class Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier.
You could probably put, of course, you got Harry Belafonte. If you want to take it further back, yes, absolutely. Right. You might say Sidney Poitier, may God be with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if that, but I'm saying modern, contemporary, like Denzel Washington is like the guy.
Yeah, the godfather of black.
You know what I mean? Of like clean and sane and still doing movies and theater and you know what I mean? And being in that space. So I definitely have seen that Will Smith would have been on that path.
I'm clearly biased in saying this, but so far as his record, his performance, his professional commitment to the industry, up until the night of the Oscars, I agree. I think he is still in that class. I know that there is going to be a lifetime of debate around whether what he did was right or wrong. In terms of maxims, right? If we were to calculate this as a universal maxim where we evaluate an action based on whether if it would be okay to do, like, is the action okay if everybody or anybody did it, right? Universal maxim. Then no, this is not right? He did something that was embarrassing, that was uncalled for in terms of the context of comedy and the role of award shows.
Yeah.
It was emotionally charged.
Yeah.
And I think the only people who have room, as such as myself, in the immediate aftermath of it, was saying, well, I'm not mad, because he's defending his wife, but was it done right? No. And is the action, is it respective to the act? I think personally, I respect the Academy's decision. Now, I do think, incumbent upon him resigning from the Academy, that perhaps there could have been, or
he was trying. No, but Shaquaya, him resigning from the Academy is like a child saying, "Hey, I know I did wrong."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a child getting the belt and trying to whip his own ass.
Right. Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to make light of the situation.
But also anticipating that there's
you're going to get something. So you're like, no, mom, dad, I know you're going to take. Okay, it's cool. You choosing the belt, the thinnest belt.
Yeah. Or trying to get ahead of the punishment yourself.
You're trying to get ahead of the
so it doesn't hurt as bad, right? So
right. It don't hurt as bad. So resigning is not enough. Now, let me just look. A lot of folks are checking in. People said, Donita said Forrest Whitaker. Yep, you're right. Yep. He's in that class.
Yeah.
I don't think we've heard any crazy scandals. I'm talking about crazy stuff, folks. You know what I mean? So Donita, yeah. Forrest Whitaker, James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Who's the guy that plays in 12 Years a Slave? Chidamau. Can't remember his last name.
Now I'm talking about older guys.
Yeah, well, of the class that he's been in terms of being in the industry for over 30 years. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Like Will Smith, and that's what I'm saying. Like you've been if you're in Hollywood for 30 years, you got to remember Will Smith actually, he started, he was doing music when he was a teenager.
Right. That's
how he was like probably 16 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
When him and Jazzy Jeff got connected. Now, once he got to doing his show, he was a little bit older, but yeah, I mean, like he got into it very early. So he has a significant amount of time and investment that he's put in, but he was still seen as a younger guy compared to, like I said, Denzel, Forrest, Samuel, James Earl Jones, and all of those guys. Chiwelte, is it Ejiofor?
I think
that's the brother you were talking about from 12 Years a Slave?
Right.
Yeah. See, that's another generation of actors, though.
It is. I think
career
doesn't span as long.
Yeah. That's another generation. But here's the thing. 10 years for this action. Now, if they would have probably cut it down to 5 years, I would have probably been like, okay. Because
it's a bit extreme.
It's a bit extreme.
This is my opinion.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shaquaya.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, I'm trying to extrapolate my opinion from that which I think is reasonable and perceptive in the perceptive sense of what most people would think. And so I'm extrapolating my opinion to say 10 years is a long time.
Right.
10 years is a bit extreme in my opinion, because you have someone that has had such a solid history, who has already been forthcoming about the mistake, that has resigned from the Academy. It's just like rubbing salt in a wound, but at the same time, this is the wound that he self-inflicted. So I'm not saying that it's unreasonable by the means that there is an expulsion. It's just the term. I know it's trying to send a message, and I hate doing this because I really don't think it benefits commentary and for us to reason within ourselves as a community whether things are justified. But I'm trying to think about if this was like Orlando Bloom and Adam Sandler, like if these were two white men, or if Will Smith was white and Chris Rock was black. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. I hate to throw hypothetical situations.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do in this moment.
It is very hard because there is no comparison. There is no one.
There's no precedent
in this position.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
So I think they're trying to send a very clear message. I understand. I truly don't believe there is anyone who would try to imitate a Will Smith slap it. You know, if this certainly doesn't send a message, the outrage after the incident already did.
So the other part of this is, and I'm trying to see, and I don't, you know, I'm gonna ask if Shannon, if you are one of our producers here, and I can't find if there are any details about Jada, and that bans Will.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't ban Jada.
I don't think
technically.
Yeah, I don't think they would ban Jada. I mean,
right.
she
So
did not.
Technically, Jada could show up in an Academy event.
Certainly.
You know?
And I'm sure she won't, probably in solidarity with her husband.
I mean, would you?
No.
If your husband been banned for 10 years.
But also if a few years goes by and she feels there's
or we ain't got to play the slap again.
Some symbolic reason as to why I would want to be present and essentially show my resistance to the ban. Perhaps she will, but certainly not immediately. And I want to say this is what I was thinking when he resigned, and this is not in any way condoning this chain of thought, but I was thinking, historically, Will Smith has stood on solid ground. A lot of people don't associate Will Smith with activism and standing for the right thing, but Will Smith was the first artist to boycott the Grammys because the best rap feature, I don't know if you remember, I think it was back in 1991 or 1992. They did not want to present the rap category as a mainstream category. It was like one of the ones that are announced, outside of the award show.
Oh, yes.
A number of hip-hop artists, along with him, boycotted the awards that year. He's also done other things in his career where he's kind of trying to take a stand to what is and what isn't acceptable in entertainment. I don't think that he was trying to make a stand for anything beyond the disrespect or what he perceived as disrespect or, had an emotional or compulsive reaction in looking at Jada's reaction to Chris Rock's joke. I don't think he was trying to make a bigger stand here. But in my mind, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if it matters to him, right? If I were Will Smith, I've got my Academy Award. I worked for this my whole life. I've gotten it. If you all are not going to take this from me, I'll gladly bow out. I've worked this long in my career.
Like, if you listen to Will, and I'm gonna always go back, if y'all haven't had a chance to like read or listen to Will Smith's book, Will.
Oh man, yeah, it's still on my.
You know what I mean? Like the type of person that he comes across as in his book is he understands there are consequences for every action, right? Like he understands that. He grew up in that. He grew up with a strong household, a strong mother figure, father figure. He has a younger brother that he often looks up to because he said his younger brother is a little bit more stand your ground type of guy than he is, right? So his younger brother has taught him how to be a certain way. He has sisters. So he understands the dynamics of like, if you do something that's against social norm, if you do something that is a violation, there are going to be consequences for your action. He understands that. He understands that as an actor. He understands that as a father, as a husband, and as a person, as a black man. So, I think that. And I think that on the other side, and I'm not going to say on the other side, the other part of this is with Chris Rock, because as much as people want to say, like where you stand, and again, I highly suggest that people look at Brother Roland's Team Chris, Team Will, his breakdown of why we should not be dividing ourselves in these two camps, because he's suffering as well. I mean, there's embarrassment there, right? And Chris Rock got brothers. I was listening to Tony Rock the other day, and it's like, Tony, you calling Jada the B word? You saying if he came up on this stage, he would be nominated for these hands and all of that. And it's like, Tony, like, have you been living in an emotional space, which I understand, but at the same time, Like that type of language at a time where people are so charged up about this situation, it can lead to somebody really, really getting hurt.
Yeah, don't need.
You know
to
what I'm
pour
saying?
gasoline on the
Like
fire.
really
Right.
getting hurt. We see that in the hip hop industry all the time. That somebody does something to one artist, and then the artist got to respond, and his homeboys on an interview, and I mean, it can get really out of hand. It could go left any other way. Tony said his thing. Chris's other brother said that the slap eats at him. I mean, and then Chris is out there touring and doing his shows and stuff, and he said he's still processing everything. So I mean, it's hard to say how they should respond because again, we're not in their shoes.
Correct.
We can Monday morning quarterback all day. Well, what I would do, but you weren't slapped on national TV, and you definitely didn't do the slapping. So it's hard to say, but I think that we should be empathetic and compassionate because both men lost.
Agreed. And there is a personal relationship there.
I mean,
that goes beyond.
Oh yeah,
the characters we see or the figures that we see them as. Chris Rock and Will Smith have a historied relationship, or should I say, the Smiths and Chris Rock have a storied relationship, and so it's even disappointing to that context of knowing that there's a relationship, a friendship that has been broken, and now the world is between them, right? And personal family and friends are between them. I do hope that some magnanimous figure such as Oprah or whomever gets an opportunity to sit the two down for the well-being of the Black public.
You might have just dropped the jewel of the year on that one.
We have to get them together.
That's the only. Let me tell you something.
That's the only thing
I
that
know
was
Jada, my sister from Baltimore.
This can't be on Red Table Talk. This has to be bigger than
Red
that.
Table Talk, man.
Yeah, has to be bigger than that.
It
but I
can't be
do
on Red
think
Table Talk.
when the time is right.
Look, if it was Red Table, you can't interview your own husband. Now, it would be different. This is my opinion, y'all, so y'all can just take it or leave it, right? It would have been different if Jaden and Willow interviewed them and be like, Mom and Dad, what happened? Or if Willow, because Jaden already said this is how we do it, so he already put a tweet out. So he's already there's a bias there. But Willow could possibly say, hey, or Gammy, you know what I'm saying? Jada's mom saying, what happened?
But you know,
that might be a better table talk with Jada and Will. But if you're talking about a very serious healing conversation, the only person you could think of would be Oprah. She would have to have them on like Super Soul Sunday, man.
Mm-hmm.
Real talk. Like they would have to be, and I'm sure she probably thought about it. Like you're gonna have to sit with Oprah in the garden, man.
I'm sure somebody's thinking about it, but I know the time is not now because as Chris has shared, processing it, he's not even ready to really discuss it publicly, right? And so we've got to give time and respect and space to the situation.
Yep.
I do believe that there is as much power in the unifying efforts that can follow the situation as there is in the disparagement and divisiveness that has been the case in terms of online discussion. And as so far as public figures themselves have identified or allied to Will or Chris alike, I think there is time and space to be had, and I'm looking forward to the conversation when it does happen.
Look, I'm looking forward to. Rihanna checked in and said 10 years is like 2 to 3 rounds in the movie realm. It's not that long for them, but it is a step away from a lifetime ban. That's true, Rihanna. I agree. I think it is a step away from a lifetime ban. If they would have given him a lifetime ban, I would have been like, whoa, that's. But you're right. in the movie business, well, it depends on if this was The Rock. Let me say this, and here's why I'm saying it. The Rock probably put out a movie every year. It seemed like so like 10 years for The Rock is probably like 7 movies. Will Smith, he's not putting out quite as many movies at the rate and frequency as other actors, right?
Mm-hmm. Or as he used to.
He does put out are so big that they really bring it up. But yeah, I mean, it could be, you're right, it could have been a Lifetime ban. Now, the other element of this is that the Academy is trying to save face for itself. Like, you got to remember this, the Academy, this reminds me of like the NFL. Like, Kaepernick made the NFL look silly. And it was embarrassing on the NFL side. This embarrassed the Academy because they didn't know how to really handle it. And I don't know whether the Academy was lying or not, because there was some conversation about that. But, you know, I'm going off of what Will Packer, the producer of the Oscars, said when the LAPD asked Chris Rock, hey, do you want us to arrest Will Smith for the assault? And Chris Rock told them, no. Do you want us to remove him from the arena? No, we don't need to do all of that. That's what Will Packer said. So I always going to give Chris Rock the props for not embarrassing this black man even more, even though he was embarrassed by him. But that's what Will Packer said. He didn't want to take it that far. I mean, that would have been just not just embarrassing, that would have been just heartbreaking.
It would have. And I also think there is clearly no one knows what's going on in Chris Rock's mind. He's been forthcoming that he was not aware that Jada Pinkett Smith had alopecia, right? That there was an autoimmune disease that caused or led to her being bald, not just a aesthetic preference. And I think that in owning that, that is why he decided to be as gracious to Will in terms of not pressing charges, in terms of not essentially aligning with the Academy directors and behind the scenes personnel who wanted to do something in the moment of, because he had to also own his mistake. I certainly would like to believe that because he did not know, if he did, he would have never made a joke of that sort. It's also not to say that because a few years prior, when Jada and Will boycott the Oscars, he did make, you know, a snuff at Jada. I don't know if you recall the joke. He's like, you know, Jada's banning the Oscars. Oscars so white, who cares? It's like me being banned from Rihanna's panties. I'm not invited, right? And so there's also that underlying dissension that may have stemmed from that situation that was never resolved or never discussed between the couple and Chris Rock. Who knows what has been brewing, if you will. But the fact that he has not or did not take those actions shows that, to me, that there is some regard, some respect, some grace that he wants to offer, but also maybe there is some accountability that he has within himself to have made the emotional impact that he did on the couple and on Will personally. But I do think, you know, moving forward, as it relates to jokes being told at the Oscars or at award shows, I think producers would be more prone to wanting to screen everything rather than allowing things to play out. But I don't.
That's a great point.
Yeah, but I don't know if that hinders, you know, the production and or you know, kind of organic nature of how award shows play out. But it certainly is worth doing, because there have been other, you know, notwithstanding Will's actions, there have been other really offensive remarks made at award show that people just kind of go along with, that I think, you know, we'll probably be more mindful about now.
And we're not, and to add to that, Shaquaya, very few people remember during the Oscars that Regina Hall took some jabs at Jada as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not, and I'm not saying that she needs to be, reprimanded and all of those things. I'm just making the point that it's like it's all fair game until somebody gets offended, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that with the point that you just made about off the cuff remarks, especially for comedians, they're going to have some conversations with, if Chris is invited to host the Oscars again, which most likely he will be, because he's not the one that did the violation. And he still moved forward with the show as the quote unquote consummate professional. So most likely they're going to reward him for that.
Certainly.
They're going to probably still have a conversation with him and say, look, you can't take certain shots. It's not a comedy club.
Yeah, I'm sure. As they should.
I mean, this is the Oscars. So the criteria for hosting, when you think about, like, when I think about like how Jimmy Kimmel hosts, or Jon Stewart, or even Trevor Noah, you know what I mean? Like, you could take shots at anybody else. Don't take shots at anybody personal appearance.
Yep.
Don't take shots at no one's, personal experience, like their history, all of those things. The other part of it is, like, as far as I know, I don't think there has been any official statement coming from Chris Rock saying he apologized for the joke.
No, there's been nothing official that's come out from Chris Rock besides his remark at a comedy show where he said he's still processing. Right. And he's sure jokes will come, some serious things will come, but in time.
Yeah, it's so sad. It's so sad. But folks, as we look at this situation, and I know some folks, everybody's kind of at this place where like, there's more important things happening, but this is part of our culture, right? And here at The Culture, we do still have a responsibility to report on some of the big developments in the story. Since we started talking about the story, we need to continue to talk about it until it's dies out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're still going to have it. People still have strong feelings about it, but I really encourage everybody to check out, our previous conversations. Check out Brother Roland's discussion and his ideas that he put forth there, and let us try to find some ways for us to not be divided over this. Because we got enough stuff that could keep barriers between us. The last thing we need is you got to be on Team Will or Team Chris. And therefore, I ain't sitting at the dinner table with you because you think Chris Rock was just being funny and Will Smith was overreacting. I mean, come on.
Bigger fish to fry.
Bigger fish to fry. And we don't need no more divisions within the culture. All right, folks, we're going to take another pause. When we come back, as we're talking about these two powerful Black men, let's also talk about this idea of Black excellence. Now, we have just gone through this historic week looking at Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. We have talked about, all of the things that Black people are undergoing. But I'm asking a question. Does Black excellence help or does it hurt us? Now, we know that there are some inspiring elements to this phrase, Black excellence. But do you know about what could possibly serve as some diminishing elements to this phrase of Black excellence? We have that conversation up next, and I can't wait to hear what many of you have to say. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Like, wow, Roland was amazing on there.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
All right, folks. As we have these big conversations about Black people that are doing excellent things, it made me think and really ponder about this idea of Black excellence. Now, why? This is a huge element of our culture nowadays, where we talk about if someone is achieving a certain goal, that's Black excellence. If a young person is breaking some barriers, that's Black excellence. But then I started to ask myself the question: is this good? And I'm just asking, because are we putting ourselves in a trick bag, or are we sliding down a slippery slope because we have created a standard by which not everyone is able to meet? Are we doing something to ourselves that has always been done to us, which is divide us from who got it, who don't have it? And that's part of the reason why, and that's the big part of why I wanted to have this conversation, especially with my sister Shaquaya McKenzie, who is an activist. She's an educator, an aspiring law professional, because I feel like, Shaquaya, we are in a place culturally where we celebrate the beauty of the achievement, but then we don't always celebrate the people that are striving. And I feel like that puts us that can be problematic. Here's why. When we first think of Black excellence, we often are thinking about somebody that is doing great things, right? And there is a blog. Well, this was part of a blog from Brown University. It's called The Good and Bad of Black Excellence. And I want to share this a little bit with you. Firstly, when they said that what is Black excellence, we often know that that's when you go to Urban Dictionary, it defines someone that is Black and portrays great qualities and abilities and make the Black community proud. But then when we look at how can a phrase, and I want you to take a look at this, folks. This is part of an Intro to Africana Studies for Brown University. How can a phrase with such good intentions inadvertently hurt the Black community? That's the good question. So in this blog, it says, quote, well, the phrase itself is not the issue. It's how it may be used that poses this question. However, just because it isn't the norm doesn't mean that we shouldn't treat it as such. When we call achievements such as enrolling in college excellent, it creates a distinction by implying that this is excellent behavior or this is an achievement only accomplished by excellent people of color, as opposed to this being normal behavior accomplishable by any Black person. I want y'all to think about this. Shaquaya, do you feel like when we have these conversations about Black excellence, that as much as we're celebrating, we're also diminishing?
You know, as is the case with many theories or concepts that are classified by or a business of classifying people, there's a duality to this. And there's a complexity to this that absolutely, and I'm grateful for you to be able to, with you, to be able to discuss this with you, but it has to continue to be discussed, you know, amongst our own friends, families, and communities. I think the helm or the popularized phrase of Black excellence, not sure when it came along. I'm going to use my historical lens to cap that. The term Black became more popularized in the 70s after rejection of the term Negro, and therefore the upward mobility that middle-class Black Americans were able to see due to the sacrifices and the you know, shouldered work by individuals through the 60s and 70s, were able to really find a place in what we call contemporary society, whether that means you're college educated or if you're a blue collar worker with a great job and a pension, right? Black excellence, the concept of such is championed and usually associated with education and or public success. And I think that both ideas in terms of Black excellence being a good thing in the aspect that it is, if you will, a marker for individuals to aspire to or to be inspired by is important. But I also believe, and this goes to a point I made earlier when talking about Ketanji Brown, that there is this castration of self-affiliation of being able of an individual, and particularly we're talking about Black people, and I'm thinking about my kids, Black kids removing themselves or not being able to see themselves in Black excellence and therefore not wanting to aspire to it. That's how I originally thought of it. The way the blog regarded it, in that it's not just about the castration, or it's about, you know, that being the principled, what do you call it, like precedent in terms of what you can aspire to. It's the aspect that what is considered excellent is what we should be doing anyway, right? Like, do we call people going to college white excellence? No, but we've called that example particularly of Black people being able to go to college because we know there have been systemic issues in the way. And so Black excellence is a concept that is championed, promoted to describe and to celebrate individuals that have gone beyond the systemic barriers and aspire to things that they, by any means, in terms of how we look at other races, should aspire to, right? And so I do think it's a good and a bad thing. The reason why I'm going to lean on this, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate against myself, I'm going to lean on the concept of it being a bad thing, because when I've tried to, in the position of being an educator, when I've tried to motivate students to actualize, or should I say ideate first, ideate and then actualize their own personal dreams or endeavors or vision for their lives and what it is they want to be.
Right.
I've oftentimes, by habit of what was done unto me, provided examples, right? Look at Harriet Tubman, not saying this is exactly, but look at Dr. Martin Luther King. This is what we do. This is what has been done unto us. Look at all these good Black folk, right, that serve as models. You should want to be like them. And what we fail to understand sometimes when we talk that way is that I'm sorry if you heard my phone ring.
Right, you're good.
But what we often fail to understand is that the stories of those that have come before us are so entrenched with the systemic barriers being the catalyst of why we recognize their Black excellence, that is something that doesn't relate as quickly to the students that are coming through schools now, to the kids that are growing up in American society now, right? Black excellence could be Cardi B. Black excellence could be LeBron James. Black excellence is not just associated with education or with the idea of poise and just like virtued excellence, as we kind of remark even in how we're seeing Judge Jackson Brown, right? Just having an unblemished record. Yeah. And therefore it can be a deterrent for those who see themselves as excellent, but don't see themselves as a type of excellence that is upheld. And there's just so much more to say about this, but that's my immediate response is it could be a bad thing. It could, because we want to give people the freedom to ideate what their version of excellence means regarding the fullness of themselves, not just the fact that they are Black and therefore there is this model of Black excellence to just follow on the ropes too, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and to that point, you know, there were a couple of people that are, and folks are posting a lot of good things in the chat. I want to just kind of raise a couple of things, because I know Janae asked about, you know, you got to be, she said, I hope this is fodder because people write articles to get attention and throw shade to incite commotion on purpose for the intended target to keep dissension and discord. Stop taking the bait. This blog that came from Brown was actually a collection of Black researchers that have looked at the dynamics of this phrase on culture on both good and the bad side. That's why they named the blog Good and Bad, the good and bad of Black excellence. So this comes from a number of writers who are saying, let's look at what some people are saying, how they define Black excellence, and then let's look at the impact that this might have on people. To the point, so I just wanted to share that with you, Janae. But to that point of looking at a phrase, like you just made this point, Shaquaya, saying that those of us who've gone beyond the systemic barriers of racism, hell, that's us. That's any Black man or woman, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, if we really think about it, that's any Black man or woman who get up every day, who takes if you got children, get their children ready, send them off to school, you go to work. You work in a field, whatever your profession is. We are breaking through systemic barriers each and every day. And a lot of us are left nameless. A lot of us are making strides in our professions and respective positions, and we're breaking barriers in our jobs, in our schools, wherever we are, and we're doing it every day. And we're not given the same level of accolades. We're not being told, oh my gosh, you are excellent. The reason I think that this is an important conversation is just because I don't want us to be in a position where we start to distinguish who's better than others within our community. Because why? White people have already taught us that there are, if you're light skinned, you're this. If you're from this neighborhood, you're that. If you make this amount of money, you this. Hell, if you wear this type of clothing or drive this type of car, then you're better. If you eat at this there's always these distinctions to keep us divided. And I'm not saying that to say that your person is black excellent is, I'm not saying it's totally wrong, but I am saying that we should be very mindful about how we apply the terminology, because we all break barriers every day. Every time that God gives us the breath to breathe, we put our 2 feet on the ground and we say we're going to do something special. We're going to open up a business. We're going to be good, better fathers and mothers and better family. We're going to do something in the community, because the expectation for Black people is so low that we're always breaking through somebody's unexpected, low expectations. We're always breaking through some barriers. So I don't know if we're saying like just because we could think of a number of people who we might say, oh, that's Black excellence. When we think of Amanda Gorman, that sister, that the poet, right? People say, oh, she's Black excellence. Well, she is part of a number of young Black people who are wordsmiths.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Judge Jackson, she is part of a number of Black judges, Black women judges in this country, right? So it's like, how do we make sure that we don't start to differentiate between who got it, who doesn't have it, who's great and who's not great? If you are a trash man and you've been working your job for 25 years, right? You Black excellence, because guess what? Off of the salary you made as a trash man for 25 years, you putting some people through some college. You put your children or you put grandchildren. That's Black excellence. Our grandparents did Black excellence stuff and they were left nameless. You know what I mean? When I think about the number of stories of Black people who come from the South in particular, and I'm just saying because our people, when they, like our grandparents, when they came up from the South, think about when our grandparents who didn't have a higher education, they only went to a certain late grade level from the South, but they were able to raise our parents who went off to some of the most prestigious colleges or some of the top HBCUs in the country to become professionals, white collar professionals. But their parents their parents' their grandparents were sharecroppers, or the grandmother cleaned homes. I mean, that's Black excellence right there.
I want to.
Go ahead, please.
I would love to address that point you just made. Right, it's not about the context of assimilated value in terms of what is the norm of mainstream American culture, which is enforced or reinforced by white supremacy culture, right? That it's not just namely about your financial assets, your salary. It's about the moral aptitude and determination you have to be a better person. We do have to constantly monitor the concept of Black excellence to determine whether we are utilizing it to enable Black tokenism or if we're utilizing it to continue to uphold and motivate and promote the idea that there is a life that we deserve.
Hold on.
We have to combat those systemic barriers and also the barriers that we as the community experience and recycle within ourselves, whether we consider that violence, crime, poverty, however the system works against us and how we work with it. We have to constantly monitor the concept to determine if we're enabling Black tokenism or if we're utilizing it as a means to motivate ourselves and combat the issues and the systemic barriers that we have. And it should not be deduced simply down to your educational status or your financial status, even though we regard those as factors to consider and be able to survey and evaluate. if an individual is successful. But excellent.
Or, Shaquaya, can we add to that another? It shouldn't be come down to education. It shouldn't come down to financial. It should not come down to social status.
Yes.
Because a lot of us, we are all being conditioned to believe if you are of a certain social status in this country as a Black person, that's Black excellence.
Yeah, and that has not, social media hasn't helped that at all. If anything,
that hasn't helped us at all. Like we reward, and isn't it funny that we reward people who are the most entrenched in the system that has done us the most damage?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say that again, y'all. We reward and we praise people who are the most entrenched in the system that has done us the most damage.
Mm-hmm. So you're thinking about law enforcement. You're thinking about individuals that represent agencies that have historically not worked for the benefit of people. But we know that there are people, Black excellence, existing in those systems to combat what works against us. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. It can't be deduced. Black excellence shouldn't be deduced to financial status, to educational attainment status, and or social ranking, but to, again, as I said before, the moral aptitude and character of an individual to rise to the occasion of purpose in their lives and live that out to the fullest extent to which they can, right? So I really do appreciate this topic, Faraji, because it's something I've been embattled with as I regarded as, an example of what came from my experience in being an educator. Because how we talk about Black excellence to each generation is important, and how they see themselves in it is so crucial to how we continue to uphold the concept. But it has to be a malleable definition, subjective to each individual person, but indefinitely in how we talk about it in the culture.
So Taylor checked in and said, how the term is received may have to do with one's own struggle or perceived shortcomings, doesn't negate another's accomplishments. No. And I'm going to get very philosophical. We may not, and I'm sure, Shaquaya, we're not going to be able to totally address this, but can we all be excellent? We can, and here's my answer to that. Yes.
Without question.
You could be excellent in your own right? Like your version of being excellent may not meet my criteria, but that should not stop me from recognizing and acknowledging your excellence, because we don't all come from the same place. If you've come from a home where you don't have two parents in a household, or you may not have your parents in a household, and you went through all of this adversity as a child, all this pain, but you were still able to go to school, you still found a way to get to college, and you still found a way to do your career, or you still found a way to serve your people and in the community, do excellent, man. Anytime you overcome adversity, that makes you excellent. That's all I'm gonna say. I think that we need to come to some common understanding that when you overcome adversity, you're excellent. So that must mean, Faraji, that since we all Black in this country and we've overcome adversity every day, B, every day, we are all excellent. Let's just start from there. I'm going to just throw that out there. All right, let me see what else we got. Kim said, being Black and going to college in the 80s after high school was a huge achievement. Facts. I grew up in the 80s. After high school, most went straight to work and raised the family. The norm now is college is after high school. You're absolutely right. Just because a child says to you today that they don't want to go to college, but they may not want to go to a 4-year college, but they might say, hey, can I go into fashion? I want to go to fashion school. I want to be a chef. Can I go to culinary school? That's excellent still. That's still excellent. So it doesn't have to be in the educational space. I'm just saying that we just use that as an example. Brother King Lee said, just getting up each day, facing the white power structure makes you excellent, because it takes strength to face this crap.
There we go.
Brother King Lee. This is what we do. This is what we do. Come on, man.
This is it.
Seriously, brother, you said it. You hit the nail on the head. To wake up. I mean, come on, all of us. We wake up every day knowing that there are literally forces against our rise. And we still put our clothes on, go to the office, go to the job, and still, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, get the work done, try to do our thing to make sure that we accommodate the needs of our family. I mean, come on, man. Black people weren't supposed to get this far. Black people weren't supposed to get this far in the history of the United States. We weren't supposed to be producing a president, Supreme Court justices, aldermen, world-class athletes. We weren't supposed to be doing all this. After coming out of chattel slavery, where we didn't know the knowledge of ourselves and our God and the place that we came from, and we were broken down and all of this stuff, and we still producing, we're still
Black excellence.
That's all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And even the ones that suffer, even the ones that may be, and I think that a lot of us, we understand the struggles of drugs, street life, the whole nine, right? Even the ones that have fallen victim to those lifestyles, we know that most of them was brilliant men and women who could not handle living in an environment that didn't recognize their brilliance, and so they kept running up against this wall. And to deal with the resistance, they turned to the street life, they turned to drugs, they turned to something else, right? To try to ease their pain. But that don't make them weak. Because it's a hell of a thing to wake up and to face the white power structure every day. And then to do it with a smile on your face. To do it with your chest still held high. To do it with your spine standing upright. Please. Please. And see, Shaquem, that's why, honestly, like, we can't, like, I'm tired of seeing so much division between us by using labels and using the things outside of us as if people aren't strong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you're people from the islands.
Indeed.
You're people from the islands.
Jamaica stand up strong and proud. Yes.
They crossed the waters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They
came into a situation that was totally
yeah.
And
but that's what? All of us in the diaspora.
Right. They sent you to college.
This is right.
And now you're talking about being a lawyer. Please.
You heard Judge Jackson, 1 or 2 generations away. It doesn't stop, because that is Black excellence.
That's Black excellence right there, man.
It's the attitude, it's the determination to aspire to what it is we have been called to this earth for. And nothing, no position, no generational chide, such as chattel slavery or generations of chide could ever, remove that from the spirit of people. Black excellence, even as we regard, and I love that you did, Faraji, even as we regard people who we may not automatically associate with the concept of Black excellence, those who are involved in more, look down upon aspects of life or what you do in life, whether that's being involved with drugs or being involved in street life, gangs, whatever the case may be. I love and appreciate that you call to the humanity of what happens when people resort to those situations. Nobody's born and wants to live a life bad or evil.
Hell no. Nobody wants to be a drug addict, man.
You know, this is a consequence of systemic barrier, of a lack of education or opportunity, and therefore Black excellence has to continue to expel the concept that that doesn't belong to all of us, right? Those of us who hold ourselves to be a part of the Black excellent class, if you will. It's our responsibility to speak to the fact that it exists within all of us, and at all times we can rise to the occasion of it.
I mean, we have, Shaquare, we have so much rich history in each one of us. And if we just decided to just respect the power that each one of us really have inside. I'm not talking about what you wear and what you drive in or what you're not driving, what area you live in. I don't care about none of that. You know, it's like you see a Black man or a Black woman today, you got to respect. Somebody said you got to respect that hustle. You got to respect the fact that we are still, here's the greatest form of Black excellence. Here's the greatest form. You still got hope that you can be a person of substance. You still got hope that you can achieve in the midst of a system that hates you. You still got faith. Now, if that ain't Black excellence, I don't know what it is. To believe that you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish in spite of, in the face of a system or institutions or people that want to destroy you. And you still say to yourself, but nah, I can do this. You know what I mean? Like if you overcome that adversity, you still, with hope and faith in yourself, and you got hope and faith in to raise your children to believe. Nah, man, there's nothing weak about that. That's excellence all the way down to the molecule.
That's Black excellence for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're teaching our children, we're not teaching our children to walk around with their heads hung low, even though that's what the system wants us to believe. You got children, I got children. I don't teach my son and my daughter, go put your head low, son, because you ain't gonna never be nothing in this world. Who says that? And if you're saying that to your sons or your daughters, you killing them. You ain't gotta worry about the bullet. You ain't gotta worry about no white powder. You already killing them. But for those of us who got hope and faith, please. I'm sure your parents, Shaquille, never think that you were going to be. I mean, people don't know how serious you are as a woman. But you when you went to Morgan State University, Miss Morgan, you were an activist. You were part of the Student Government Association. I mean, you've been in leadership roles. Now you're going to law school. Now you know what I mean, you've been speaking across the country. You are educator. I mean, come on, your parents ain't never know that. They ain't think, well, they knew that you were going to be great, but they didn't know how excellent you were going to be in your greatness. And that's all of us, right? My parents didn't know that I was going to take this path.
But it's the sliver of hope that made it all possible. No question.
Like, we should never take ourselves lightly. We shouldn't think too much of ourselves. There has to be a balance, but we shouldn't take ourselves lightly either. Because we've gone through some serious stuff, man. This is I mean, y'all know, come on, man. We're gonna wrap up the show on this note. Y'all know that, and this is not on some hating other people, but not a lot of people can walk this path that Black people walk and still be standing strong like we've been standing in this country. Y'all know that. Every one of us. Every one of us. We all Black excellence right here. We still up in this mother. We still up. We still standing. And now we building legacies. We talking generational wealth. We talking about justice for all. We still standing. And I'm saying that, family, because I want us to start pushing back on this idea of individualism in our culture, because that's what I think Black excellence speaks to. It speaks to a level of individualism. No. Our power is in the collective. You see yourself as one. So we have to speak on that. We got to see ourselves as being a part of this great changing community. So, Shaquay, I think that you and I know people are going to continue the conversation on social media platforms and everything, but I just wanted to throw it out there for us to think about, especially as we've had such an amazing historic week with Judge Jackson, and there have been some amazing things. I talked about Mother Betty, who worked for the National Park Rangers, 100 years old. She just had her birthday. She just retired not too long ago after she turned 100 years old. That's Black excellence. She worked for the National Park Service since she was 84, but she was doing making sure that Black women during World War II were being cared for and provided for and helping Black troops. I mean, that's Black excellence, man. But we don't know. We didn't know that. I didn't know that until I started doing the research. So we all got something to add and to show that we are all Black excellence. Don't let nobody be like, oh, that's Black excellence and that. Oh, you ain't Black excellence. No, please. I woke up in this mother. I brought my children through this. Please. So, Shaquay, I know our time has been well spent, but I appreciate you, sis, and I'm so happy that you and your new path as a law student.
Thank you, Brother Faraji. I seek to go far.
Oh yes, absolutely. All right, Shaquay, thank you so much, and again, thank you so being so good for the culture. We'll talk to you again. All right, sis. All right.
See you
folks,
soon.
I appreciate y'all so much. Man, oh man, it's been a fantastic week. So much that we talked about. But next week, we got Dr. Steve Perry coming on next week. Yeah, I can't wait till that happens. Y'all know Dr. Steve Perry, the brother who started the schools. He was a principal in Hartford, Connecticut. He coming on the show next week. I'm going to talk to a gentleman by the name of Pierce Godwin next week. We're going to talk a little bit about how do we stop or break down the polarization in this country, the toxic political climate we find in this country. We're going to get into we got some fantastic guests. So more thinking conversations. I love to make us think. I love to just pose questions, not to throw shade on anybody, but I want us to think critically about who we are in the world around us. And so I'm really excited. So if you enjoyed the show, I truly appreciate it. Make sure you like it, share it, subscribe to Black Star Network, subscribe to anything related to the culture and Black Star Network and Roland Martin, so we can keep this type of conversation going. And of course, we need your support. Make sure you go to blackstarnetwork.com and you can just show your support through through Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, all of those platforms. And let's continue to support Black Star Network, because this is unapologetically unfiltered truth here. And we're not just talking about it just for Black people. We're talking about it for people that are just tired of the lies, tired of just being told that we can't do nothing, we don't have any power. I'm tired of that, folks. I'm tired of that talk. I'm tired of that attitude. I'm tired of that environment. I'm tired of that culture. We have power. We just got to tap into it. All right, as always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk to each other on Monday for another exciting edition of The Culture. Stay tuned. Up next is my big brother, Roland Martin, at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time with Roland Martin Unfiltered. Also, we are having a power table talk right now, talking to powerful Black women and the confirmation of Judge Jackson that is actually being live streamed as well. So if you haven't had the chance because you was watching us, go back and check that out as well. But we got some dynamic, dope programming here on Black Star Network. I know the Black Table dropped a new episode today with Dr. Carr, my man Dr. Carr, always bringing that truth and power. Make sure y'all check that out. And so many more. Balanced Life, all of those great shows we got lined up for you. Make sure you show your support. All right. I'll talk to you, God willing, on Monday and for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network, where we are always Black excellence. Peace.